Wednesday at 8, 7 Central on Fox.
9/11 changed the course of American history. But for all the tragedy of that day, there were many heroes. On that day, we saw the worst and the best of human nature. John Hodge is with the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation, creators of the 9/11 Never Forget mobile exhibit. More than most, he has a deeply personal reason for wanting to make sure we never forget.
Stephen Siller was my cousin. Stephen Siller was a firefighter who on September 11th had just gotten off duty. He heard the call on the scanner in his personal pickup truck. He turns his pickup truck around, grabs his gear, and he gets out on a highway to get into Manhattan. Total gridlock, cannot get in. He gets out. He straps on that 60 to 65 pounds of gear that he had just picked up. He ultimately ran approximately 3 miles from where he was at on that highway, all the way through that tunnel, and it's almost a 2-mile tunnel, through the streets of Lower Manhattan, where he perished, leaving behind a wife and 5 kids. His family members, his brothers and sisters to start with, said, you know, we don't want his memory to perish in the World Trade Center with what he did, and we think it's symbolic of what all the emergency service workers did that day.
So it's not just his story, but it's the story of everyone involved.
Preserving the memory of what happened that day is only part of the Foundation's mission. They're also dedicated to helping those who have sacrificed so much.
Our premier program is we do Building for America's Bravest. And what does that mean? We know that without 9/11, none of our service members would be in harm's way in Iraq or Afghanistan. So we feel an obligation, a real duty, to take care of those coming back so horribly injured, so catastrophically injured. And by that, I'm talking about primarily triple and quadruple amputees right now. We are building smart homes for each one of these individuals. They're very expensive smart homes, but they're so necessary. If you're missing 3 and 4 of your limbs, it's very tough to lead an independent lifestyle.
So that is the idea, though, to create a home that can give someone the opportunity to be as independent as possible.
These homes, they can be left by themselves for days. They can be by themselves if they want for good.
And they take care of themselves.
They can take care of themselves. Every essential function of that house, even if you're missing all 4 of your limbs, operating off an iPad or an iPhone, will take care of their needs. And some of our guys are living by themselves now. They get to go back to be that proud, free, independent in these homes.
Gunnery Sergeant Thomas McRae is one of those who sacrificed for our country. In Afghanistan, he specialized in explosive ordnance disposal.
If it goes bang or pop, anything from, anything bigger than a round and all the way up to nuclear ordnance, that's our realm, including IEDs. We're solely responsible for IEDs. When they find them, when they think they found them, we're the guys that they call.
So that was your niche in service?
Yes.
Okay. And how did this happen?
When I was deployed, and I was working on an IED and clearing around it, and stepped on one that I obviously missed. It instantly lost my legs, and then they had amputated my arm shortly thereafter, and then woke up in the hospital about 3 months later.
In spite of his extensive injuries, Sergeant McRae remains active, caring for his daughter, and he's even an avid horse rider.
A year to get back onto a horse, but I'll tell you what, the first time I got onto a horse, it was like all my anxiety and my nervousness, it literally went away, and I went, wow, now I remember what it's like to be normal, right there when I got back onto a horse for the first time.
This house is going to be built for you. How's that going to affect you? What do you think? How's that going to change your life?
It's going to, for one, give me my independence for the rest of my life. When I go to take a shower in a house that's not accessible, I risk falling down every time. And that house takes all those worries away. It gives you a completely safe environment for your daily activities.
Among those making this possible is Lionel Toys.
Ricky Stenhouse's number 17. These guys have given the ultimate sacrifice. I mean, in particular, Thomas McRae, whose name is actually on the back of this car, and that's what we're building for his home here, or we're raising funds.
So when people buy this, when they order this, it actually helps pay for that house?
It does, a portion of the proceeds.
So, Ricky's driving a car that's got your name on the back of it?
Yes.
Well, what's that like for you, seeing your name on the back of a race car?
The first time I met Ricky, actually, was behind his car. We shook hands, and he said, hey, there's your name. Check that out. I go, Ricky, But the more important part is the name underneath it. This is Tunnel to Towers. That's more important than me, is the foundation that supports not just me, but a lot of veterans that have been wounded.
How did this come about for you, in creating a special house for one of our heroes?
Well, it started a few years ago. 2011 was the first time that Roush Fenway and Lionel and myself teamed up with the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Stephen Siller risked his life and ultimately took his life going in and saving people out of the towers. But when you have somebody like Tom McRae, who you're trying to help raise money to build a smart home for, and when he's there, you really want to do good for him and his family, and especially when his daughter wants us to win, and she tells us that before the race. So it takes it to another level.
No action can ever undo the tragic events that have so profoundly affected the lives of so many. But we can all do something to recognize, remember, and support those who have given so much to help us all.
Come on, let's hear it for Tom McRae, a true American hero.
When we come back, how America's largest veterans organization supports the youth of our country through America's favorite pastime.